All right, so we have a wonderful guest speaker with us today. Jerry has agreed to talk to us about DNA things, how it can help us find our ancestors or just find relatives that might still be living. Or anyway, so I will just turn the time over to her, and Jerry, I will make you the host. Then you can share screens with us as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait
Well-
a second. Okay,
I'm glad for this opportunity. Yes, even though we're on the computer, I'm still nervous. I want to start off with just yeah. Can you see this all right? DNA testing. What can we learn from them, and how can they help us with our family? Way back when I had my first son, we had to do a paternity test. And he keeps asking, I keep giving it to him over and over, but it shows his father being 99.76% his dad. And just that little part actually gave him some peace to know who his father was. I've been doing family history. I didn't know it was family history probably since I was 13 years old, looking for my biological father. And back then we had phone books. We didn't have a big internet ability to search for people. I'm going to go ahead with my presentation. Wikipedia defines definition of DNA. A genealogical DNA test is used in a genetic genealogy that looks at specific locations of a person's genome in order to find or verify ancestry genealogically, relationship, or to estimate the ethnic mixture of an individual. It's a lot of big words. DNA is, we have thousands of different DNA tests, but the four ones that are out there to the public that are usually used, there's on the market, there's all four of them, and one DNA test is being used by forensic, and that one isn't open to the public yet because they haven't refined it and got it working just right. Each test gives us different information, and I have my little Davy here to read some of these because my tongue is always twisted. The Y chromosome.
The Y chromosome, or Y DNA, because Y chromosomes are passed from father to son virtually unchanged. Males can trace their patrilineal male line ancestry by testing their Y chromosome. Mitochondrial, or mtDNA, trace people's matrilineal mother line ancestry through their mitochondria, which are passed from mothers to their children. Autosomal DNA, trace a person's autosomal chromosomes, which contain the segments of DNA the person shares with everyone to whom they're related, maternally and paternally, both directly and indirectly. Autosomal DNA tests can confirm ethnicity, percentages, and close relationships with a high level of accuracy. There's also genotyping test. It's the process of determining differences in the genetic makeup of genotype of an individual by examining the individual's DNA sequence using biological assays, comparing it to another individual sequence or a reference sequence. It reveals the alleles an individual has inherited from their parents. Somebody want to end this meeting? Please. Okay, the last one is DNA phenotyping. Phenotyping is the process of predicting an organism's phenotype using only genetic information collected from genotyping or DNA sequencing. This term, also known as molecular photo fitting, is primarily used to refer to the prediction of a person's physical appearance and or biogeographic ancestry for forensic purposes.
I'm a big forensic fan, so the phototyping is, I can't wait till that's out, but it's sort of scary at the same time. Let's go back. Sorry.
Great.
Can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
This is what a human cell sort of looks like. It's a rude drawing, but it has all the mitochondrial DNA, the autosomes. There's 1 through 22, and then the Y and the X chromosome, and then the nuclei. And that's where they're positioned. When you think of these cells, I like to think of them, otherwise it doesn't really register into my brain. I want to touch on Y DNA, Y chromosome. Since it's from the males, only males can be determined on what that is. If a woman wants to know her Y chromosome from her father all the way back to his lineage, because it's father after father after father, she's going to have to ask a paternal uncle or grandfather or brother or father. The Y chromosome does not deteriorate. It stays exactly how it is from great grandfather all the way down to their grandchildren of the male species. This is, to me, pretty fascinating because it's perfect all the way through. It just blows my mind because nothing's ever perfect in this life.
Can I make a comment, Jerry?
Yeah,
I had my dad do this test and you think, okay, my maiden name is Miller. And so I'm thinking, okay, we'll see a whole bunch of Millers. And there weren't that many Millers. So I don't know if just how that has happened. Like if people have been adopted, or I wouldn't think there were that many though that have been adopted. So do you know, do you have any idea why that would be?
I wonder if it's the database. All these go off a big database.
Well, we all have that, the Y chromosome in common. And there are some Millers, but there's a lot with other
Different
last
names.
names. Yeah.
That I don't know unless the names have changed, because my name, my mother's name is Basie, but it's spelled all different ways. But my birth name is Dickinson. Not my biological father. It's my sister's father. So that sort of messes up the DNA. I'll show you with the history of her family. My brother's one of them that messes up our family, but I'm glad to have him.
Jerry, another quick question.
Yeah.
When we take just the basic DNA test, like Ancestry or something will offer, is that this test or is it one of the other tests?
No, that's the other
Autosomes?
yeah,
Okay,
yes, because that gives the whole family. That gives you through generations, through children.
gotcha.
the only test that usually tests for this, and that is family, am I right, family
tree.
family tree? Because I got the test, I just want to give it to the closest living relative. That was to my grandmother. Because her line is just really not there.
Gotcha.
I can't even find a birth certificate for her.
Well, I understand they just released like 2 billion records that came from microfiche onto digital just recently, so.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It changed my line a little bit. My,
Mm.
my, what do you call it? Brain cramp. From where I originated from, they say.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
ethnicity.
Thank you, that big word. Mitochondrial DNA. Now this is traced from the mother. And it goes to all of her children. All of her children get a mitochondrial DNA. But brain cramp. Since everyone has a mitochondrial DNA, all genders can take the mtDNA test. This is the one I got from my mom. I've had for 3 years because I'm sort of worried what I'm going to find out, but it's always a surprise. The mitochondrial DNA is actually one that actually helps a lot of forensic cold cases and stuff. So this one always sort of hits home for me because it goes through all of her children, and it can be tested not just by the woman, but the woman is the only one that passes it on. The males do not pass that to anyone. Autosomal DNA. Now this one traces people's autosomal chromosome and contains the segment of the DNA that's shared with everyone, which is so awesome, to whom they are related to, maternally, paternally, both directly and indirectly. Because everyone has autosomal chromosomes, people of all genders can take this test. I like how I'm more of a big database person. The bigger the database, the more outcomes and more hits you're going to have. Ancestry has a database over 18 million that are related to this autosomal test. It helps with ethnicity estimates and one ancestry by percentage. The survey of one DNA at hundreds of thousands locations determine how much of that we share. I was looking at mine today because they say I'm from one of the weird England countries, and I am not. I could not find one little DNA, but we all know that people get up and they move. Decades, and even today, people are moving about. This one actually helped me find my grandmother, find my grandmother's mother. Centimorgans. I love centimorgans. Centimorgans is a unit used to measure genetic links. 1 centimorgan equals 1% chance that makes a mark on a chromosome, which becomes separated for a second marker on the second chromosome due to the crossover a single generation. A centimorgan is named after an American,
Genesis.
there you go, Thomas Hunt Morgan. This, when I first started going to Roots Tech, I'm like, what is that? So I had to figure it out myself. You see these numbers, how it has like your half sibling is 1,160 to 2,439. That's a huge span. But that span can be as small as underneath 1,160. So don't count anybody out just because of their chromosomes. DNA has to go along with source and tracking people. I'm going to go to Family Search and show you guys a little bit of how I found my family.
Jerry, I got a question for you.
Okay.
When DNA testing is done, do you have to have different samples for each one of these, or do they take one sample and can do all the different tests?
Well, Ancestry does not like to share their information with another test. 23andMe, that's a separate test. Family tree DNA, that's the Y and the X chromosomes. You can do 32, what do you call it? Is it
Chromosome?
it's chromosomes, but you can do a higher count so you get a better number, but it just costs more. Circle is also a health, and it's a detailed health database. So a lot of them don't like to share, and there's some out there that will share. I like GEDmode. That actually helps. You could upload your data into that, and other people around the world also upload, and you can find matches that way. It's another program that's out there, and it's free.
Actually, coordinated with Roots Tech this last year, and I'm guessing they do it every year. A lot of the other companies made it so that you could upload your raw data, and mine was on Ancestry, so I was able to upload it to MyHeritage and also Family Tree. Those are the two I put mine on.
Family Tree does that too?
Family Tree will accept it, but then you do have to pay to be able to access some of their tools to help you find matches.
Okay, that's good to know. I haven't really varied off of Ancestry besides GEDmode, just a raw database, which there's a lot of people in there.
So how do you share data, or how do you share outcomes? How do you post, or how do you get that information to the different agencies?
You actually download your test. Let's see, where's mine? Let's go into here. DNA results. I want to activate kit. I just did it the other day because I had to give another sample to GEDmode.
What is GEDmode?
It's a database that shares with everyone. You want to upload your DNA raw data, you can upload it to that as well. Let's see, you go to search. I'm trying to figure out which one I went to. I'll have to find a link and share it with you. You actually upload your raw data, and every company shows you how to do it step by step because they're all different. They're not all the same. So just remember that follow their steps isn't going to be the same as Family Tree steps as GEDmode. Okay, that's how you do that, Alan. If you want me to show you, it's pretty fun. But then your head hurts because you got to figure out what there is all about. My DNA story. As you see, I'm 44% England, Northwestern Europe. I couldn't find any of my relatives there, but I really hope there is. I'm going to go to the map and show you guys everybody how this map is interactive. So where you point, you can click. I am going to go to,
Ancestry, right?
yes, this is Ancestry, New Mexico and Southern Colorado. I'm gonna-
Yay, 14% Scottish.
Yay!
Hey,
This right here is my father's line. There's 184,745 Ancestry DNA members on this site. And this is where I found that my dad's, a lot of them have been, and a lot of them have moved. But that is so cool because you could actually go down, you can read
Mexico.
New Mexico.
the history, the culture.
Hmm.
You can find out when my family was there approximately. All these little dots on this map show connections of your family or the community of that family. I only have my aunts and my cousins on my dad's side because they really wanted to make sure that I was his daughter. So it's a pretty cool gift that they all gave me and they didn't even know it. And I have a cousin, she's the one I get to speak to. She shared her family tree with me, which was amazingly cool. I'm going to go to my DNA matches. And this is where things get tricky with my family because it's not it's sort of like a vine that grows closely to the ground because we're all interlinked. This is my father, but they didn't put his name because they wanted to see if I was really his daughter. I have 3,489 CMs and I share 50% of his DNA. And this is my mother. I share approximately the same amount as CMs. One thing I like about having these numbers is that it helps you understand the closeness of what you get from each parent. We don't get 50 of this and 50 of that. We don't have identical DNA as our siblings. The only person that you would have identical DNA from your parents, and that would be a identical twin, because they're split and they're totally identical. They also have buttons up here, common ancestors, unviewed. My favorite is the shared DNA. I can go as close as
2000.
my fourth cousin, or you can do CMs. Where's my brother? This is my brother, and I clicked on him.
You know, it's gonna be your brother.
My brother is Sean Parker.
That means we-
I will. And I put him in as my mother's group, but he is my sister's baby. My mother had adopted him, so it just made a really different, complicated
Okay.
mess. So in the notes, I put, this is my brother Sean, Juanita is my mother, and Junior is my stepdad. They adopted him when he was a baby from my sister Terry. And it sort of had an aha moment when I created the link that he was with my family. Let me go back and edit group. And I feel that's going to be the same way with my children, how it's going to look for them. I'm gonna undo you, brother. Sorry, you won't mind. And where are you, Sean? And then I'm gonna click here. Add the basic group. When I did this, it actually asked me if he was my, I'm trying to figure out what shared matches.
Shared matches is people that are related to both you and that other person.
Yep. He's 97% my first cousin. And there's all, oh, no, go away. 10 minutes. And what really shocked me is that I had to realize, oh, he is my half nephew because he isn't related. His dad isn't related to us. But he actually did his DNA test so he could find out who his real father was and what the health problems he had, because he had a heart attack a couple of years ago. So it's always good to do those, but it's always good to follow up with a physician if you feel worried about a medical result that you got. Super important. This is my through line. These are my parents. And through the DNA testing that they did, Mom, I gotta go back to through. Come on.
And it's my understanding that the through lines is kind of a tool, so it's not proof on things. They just look at percentages and say, okay, we think these people are probably related to you through this line.
Right,
But
like
you have to still do the genealogical research to verify.
always, always. You have to have paperwork to follow up any DNA. Even my dad's, I had to have it. Because,
But it gives you great hints to look
oh
for.
yes, super hands. All these green people I haven't even looked at yet because there's just so many of them. But it does go through the through line, like 7 DNA matches. And I know this is my great grandfather. I wanted to get to one of the new things that are out there. If I can hurry. Come on, little man. Go quicker. The traits. I haven't done everything here, but I thought it was pretty cool to go through, and they give you tutorials, chromosomes, 32 pins, and gens, phenotypes. They ask you what's your fitness level. And you have to give a pretty good answer because then it gives you facts. And all this data that we're giving them about us creates another database. So hopefully they can do more phototypes like the forensic people. That's what these are being used for. And you can also find out, once you find somebody that you have the same matches, the same answers to, you can invite them and have them look at it. And you can all just reconnect and see if this is really your relative, because it can be through any of the matches. I thought that was pretty fun. I really don't look at myself that way, but it was pretty amazing to see, like my aunt Dora, which I've never met in person. It asks you weird questions too, like, do you have a cleft chin? Does your earwax brown, yellow, and sticky? Just the only questions I've ever read. I'm like, I don't know. But I asked the doctor. So be prepared to try to figure out what your answer should be. Do you sneeze when you look at the sun? This is one of them. And 38% of Ancestry DNA members who have this region answer the survey saying they would. So that shows compared to the world. Do you guys have any questions?
It's a huge thing and there's a lot to learn about it. I would just suggest get started and start looking things up, and that will help you know what questions to ask, because when you first start, it's hard to know what to
Yeah.
ask. One thing on the autosomal DNA, and what I've tried to do, it's only really accurate about to your third great grandfather.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the amount that you share with people is very small. So,
I've noticed that too. And everything's an estimate on where you originate from. It's all an estimate because it's really hard to have that big of a database and say, oh, you're definitely from Europe.
yeah.
So quick question, because I never did anything with DNA before, but Wendy had done something that can tell from where place she's from. So there are places that are like, no way she's from there. How accurate we can tell that, yeah, she has some link to that country.
That is all, that's the estimate part. If you find family there, I would make that one of your highlights, yes, because every time I used to be 18% American Indian. Now I'm down to 13.
Okay.
But everything changes with all the new people that are going in and adding their information.
Right.
Because our bodies and our people that move around through generations and decades, we all know, we all move. It creates havoc. But do your research, you find the country that works, that your family's from, put that in your notes so that can be carried on through your DNA from when your children do their work. It's always great to have notes. And I always, I've been going with a blog. She's a genealogist and she's amazing. She's overloaded my head so much. I will share the link
You
if you
get
guys
the
want
kids.
it. Remember, if you do a gen typing, you want to know your medical problems. It's not always going to turn out that way. What you eat, what you do, and where you live is part of what becomes you. And always get consulted by a doctor if you're worried about something.
As I know we're almost out of time, I have a question, and it may be something I can work with one of you separately. I'm looking to figure out how to add a niece and a nephew onto my tree. They've both been adopted. They are sealed to our family, but they also both know their birth parents, part of their birth parents. And I'm trying to figure out how to get that entered in just on Family Tree to make sure that I don't screw up somebody's lines elsewhere.
So on the church's website, Family Search,
Yeah,
there is a place when you enter someone that you can say biological or adopted.
okay. Okay, I'll look at that a little closer then and see if I
Okay,
can.
and then let me know if you have other questions after you look at it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions for Jerry?
No hard ones.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great
we
job,
appreciate you
Jerry.
So much. Thank you, Jerry.
Sure.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today, and we'll hope to see you next month.
Great, thanks. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.